Let's go to that rental information out today. This is data from the advocacy group Everyone's Home. People are paying $18,000 more a year in rent, James, than they were at the start of the pandemic in January 2020. This is massive, and it says to me, this is why the Greens are pushing the rent issue so hard politically.
Oh, yeah, Peter. I mean, it's quite clear that they reckon they can start to strip Labour support off Labour to the Greens at the coming election, because so much of this rental stress is being felt in these inner city issues. And they can look at this and then compare it to the Albanese's government's fairly sorry record on housing. I mean, not just his own sort of policies that have gone by the wayside and that are now just sort of token bargaining chips in the Senate, but also the fact that housing construction has basically fallen off a cliff. Approvals, everything else has fallen off a cliff under this government. So the Greens see absolute opportunity here. And I would say this is why you are seeing so many other sort of funny things happening in politics, you know, particularly around, like, for example, the behavior of Tanya Plibersek with that gold mine, you know, where she's trying to save her seat more than the river up in Orange.
You're not wrong. I'll get to that with my panel a bit later on. Hey, Victorian Premier Jeff Kennett was speaking at an event on the weekend, Caroline, in Melbourne. It was the annual Young Liberal Ball. He was the guest of honour. There are allegations a table in front of him had some people that were making a bit of noise. They were talking when they should have been listening to Lord Kennett speak. He took one person into task, a woman in particular. He called her a rude little bitch. I can't even say the word on camera. And he was rightly rebuked. Now, I've no issues with him calling out someone if this is indeed what she was doing, disrupting the speech. Fine. She was talking. She wasn't an activist. He could have said, well, excuse me, when you're ready, I'll get back to the speech. But that sort of language from a party elder to a room full of young people, when the Liberal Party is absolutely desperate to grow its youth wing and in particular to reach out of women, he knows better than that.
Oh, he surely should. I mean, it's an absolute shocker, and it wasn't a remark that was made in private either. It was to an entire room full of people on a microphone, which makes it even more remarkable. But he didn't have the sense either to apologise for it straight away. I mean, to his credit, the president of the Young Liberals got up and apologised for him on his behalf, and I think that speaks to his own character. But you know, when he was asked about it the next day by the newspaper, Jeff Kennett said, well, he disputed the fact that he may have used the words rude and little, but he did say the B word, as if that makes it any better. And he also said that while he apologised, he pointed out he was being distracted repeatedly by this woman, which sounds an awful lot like victim blaming. I don't think anything justifies the use of that kind of language, but you're absolutely right, Peter. No. I mean, it's beneath him, but it's also so damaging for a party which is, at this point in time, the leader of the Victorian Party is in court fighting accusations that he has basically suggested one of his female MPs, Moira Deeming, or former MPs, is a Nazi sympathiser for simply standing up for women's rights. The party has, and especially in Victoria, has a real image problem with women, and this does not help it one bit, even if those accusations are not true about its hostility towards women.
Yeah, I tell you what, leadership's about self-control, and you refrain from using words like that. It's just nasty. Let's go to the US, James. Big news there today. What's been described as a third assassination attempt on presidential candidate Donald Trump. It's a two-part question here. Tell us more about this man who was arrested carrying multiple guns, a fake entry pass, dodgy licence plates on his vehicle at this rally outside of California, and this movement in the polls, because they're swinging back. The New York Times poll in particular, she's really struggling with black voters, which is a desperately needed constituency for the Democrats.
Yeah, so two parts of the question here. I mean, number one, we know that this 49-year-old was arrested under very strange circumstances outside the rally at Coachella. He was trying to get into the rally, I believe, had all of this weird stuff, the past that was dodgy or phonied up. We don't know a lot about him. The one strange thing about this, though, is that he was released on $5,000 bail, or bond, which I think is absolutely extraordinary if it is what it looks like. So I think we need to know a bit more about what's going on in California that's happening, given that the sheriff said that he believed that this was an attempted assassination. That was reported earlier this morning. So beyond that, though, the polls are showing, the NBC polls, other polls are showing 48, 48, 49, 49, Trump-Harris, which really is terrible news for Harris because, you know, even if you take away the general weighting towards the Democrat these polls have, in a national electoral contest, you need to be a bit more than that if you're the Democrat to get the electoral votes that you need to get over the line. So right now, the Kamala Harris, Tim Walz campaign, they haven't had a good day for a number of days. None of the sort of gimmicks they've been trying are really catching fire for them. We had the very bizarre sort of Tim Walz pheasant shoot event yesterday, which was just, you know, bizarre and kind of laughable and really patronizing. But it shows that with men, with African Americans, with the minorities, they're having trouble. One thing about the black community is I saw one commentator say, you know, and this is a black American saying, the Democrats talk at us, Donald Trump talks to us. And I think that's something very profound about the way the Democrats have for decades, basically since LBJ, taken the African American community for granted. And I think that that is pretty much over in the United States.
Well, we'll watch that. And of course, Saturday Night Live, they were mocking Kamala Harris on the weekend, which does not happen normally. The Democrat gets a rails run all the way into November. So that tells you something as well in and around all of that. Thank you to you both.